Welcome to the podcast that reaches the beaches and scratches your eaches. It's the Redenbacher, an Orville experience. I'm your co-host, Matt Murphy, joined by Commander Ben Bullerwell. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing great, Matt. Not as great as that introduction, though. That was untouchable.
Thank you. It's the only thing I have to look forward to in my life.
Well, it's certainly something to look forward to for myself. Well, it just happened, and all the listeners.
I'm just kidding. I've got a root canal in 2 weeks that's really I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, must be excited for that one. Yep.
Yeah. So in lighter news, let's focus on the Orville. We received the transmission for Season 2, Episode 5, titled All the World is Birthday Cake, which I didn't know until I looked it up on the Orville Wiki, is a reference to a Beatles song, which is called It's All Too Much, which is cool because Ben's like the resident Beatles fan. I thought for sure you'd be pulling that up.
Yeah, I mean, the Beatles grew up on it, but I guess there's a lot of Beatles songs.
Oh, my God.
Holy guacamole, there's a lot. So, in my defense, I'm definitely not an expert by any means.
Yeah, you don't have to throw away your Beatles fan card in your wallet anytime soon, because this is an more obscure song, and it's like 6.5 minutes, so you can't remember all of the lyrics. So I'll just look at the snippet that it's from in the song. Is it's all too much for me to take, the love that's shining all around here. All the world's a birthday cake, so take a piece, but not too much. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great, actually. I love that. Is that the chorus, or is that just from like a verse in the song?
It looks like the chorus is like changing all the time. They use like different words around the chorus, but like the same kind of like
okay.
last line of it's so take a piece, but not too much. I think, yeah, it's like a reworked chorus each time.
Okay, neat.
Yeah, I think that applies pretty well, and it's a good thing to take with your life. Like, so take a piece, but not too much. Don't take a piece and turn it into an internment camp, I guess is how it applies to this episode.
Oh.
Yeah, so this episode dealt with heavy issues, like having to share your birthday with someone you dislike. Like, that's probably the worst case scenario.
Maybe not like dislike, but like, maybe you just would prefer to keep your birthday separate, like the celebrations, that is.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it yet, definitely go watch that before this, because we'll be spoiling it and talking about it in depth.
Yes, if you've not seen the episode, this is a great opportunity to pause and go watch it and come back. Be sure to come back. That's
the key. If you don't come back, we'll never know. But it's the trust system,
It is a trust
the
system.
Honor system.
So don't abuse the honor system. Yeah.
So this episode was written by Seth MacFarlane. I think he directed it too. I could be mistaken. I'm fairly certain he did. But I know for sure he wrote it, and it was a really interesting one. It was some serious stuff. It's not the last week was super lighthearted, but this was serious. I feel bad joking about it even.
Yeah, this was a really strange episode. It's very exciting, and then it takes an incredibly, very traumatic turn, actually. It's really horrific.
Yeah, we start off early with Bortus joking about not wanting to share a birthday, but he ends up having to share that birthday whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, and it's under much worse conditions than would have originally been planned.
Yeah, so let's just get into the synopsis then.
All right, here we go. So in this week's episode of the Orville, so we start off, we get a replacement chief of security who's also a Selayan. We find out that was a special request by Captain Ed himself.
Yeah, so Tala Kiali, right, is her name?
Yeah. I didn't catch her last name, but yeah, her first name's Tala.
I think it's Kiali. I saw her in the opening credits, and her being in the opening credits is an indication, I think, that she'll be in it for the long haul. I think she'll be with us for a while.
She's not our Tharl, unfortunately, but on that note, bye-bye, Tharl.
And no one replaces
You're going to be missed. Yeah,
he'll be around. I bet we'll see some more Tharl.
I really hope so. I mean, he's quite an interesting character. But again,
Ed mentions that he wants a Selayan as a security guard, as a new security officer, which is interesting. It's like if Ben were to say, "Hey, I'm having a new roommate, but I'd like him to be Scottish, just like my current one." Like, you can't really request that kind of stuff, but I guess you can with a union.
I mean, I guess you can. I mean, I guess for a Selayan, it kind of almost makes sense because of in being in a place of security.
Absolutely.
Physical alterations, whatever. As we know on their home planet, gravity is, what is it, Matt? Is it tenfold? I believe it's tenfold
crazy like that.
Earth's gravity. So they're extremely physically strong. So I mean, yeah, this would come in handy for your security officers. But at the same time, it's kind of strange to request a specific species. I mean, I don't know. It kind of rubbed me in a strange way as well. I was like, what the?
They are suited for
Okay.
that for sure, though, 'cause especially if they get like a female officer, be like, oh look, here's a little girl, and then they get their ass whooped by, and they don't know that like
Yeah, this is true.
it works
This
on a
is.
few levels. Like
It's
Zillian's,
almost
I
like.
think.
Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's like kind of like a Vulcan science officer. It's like some attributes definitely benefit different positions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess like yeah, I guess it's not really to prefer one species over another, but it's like in specific traits, like, these different species have evolved differently under different circumstances, which may give them like undeniable like benefits in certain positions in the Union.
For
So
sure.
yeah, I'm gonna
I
agree
found
with
out
you.
Zillian spelled with an X, so now I don't know if how I should pronounce it. Like that's really
I'm
messed
sorry,
with my mind.
Salayan is spelled with an
I thought
X?
I saw on I think it was the IMDb spells it with like an X, Xelayan.
Oh
It's
my
like
God,
Zillian.
my notes are so bad. What?
It's not your fault. I didn't know
No,
that
no, I'm kidding.
until the other day. It's all good. But
I spelled it with an S.
if anybody knows for sure, I'm pretty sure it is with an X, which is pretty. It looks cooler with an X, I guess.
Yeah, it's more like, I don't know, futuristic, right? We're probably going to be using a lot more X's in
Yeah.
our like day-to-day.
We kind of jumped ahead because this show actually opens up on Regard 2 when they're in the like little presidential or prefect suite there talking about making first contact, which I thought was a pretty cool opening.
Yeah, no, wow, we jumped too far ahead. You're right, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, take a big step back, guys. So we really start, and there's this kind of super cool scene where we're in like an unfamiliar, very interesting, like interestingly decorated room, and there seems to be some like very heavy, like militarized, perhaps conversation going on. We find out this is like a planet that is yet to reach out to the galactic community, and they're discussing whether or not they're going to do it. And the first prefect, he says something along the lines of, "It's a simple do we or don't we? So we do."
And there's no going back.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And yeah, there's a whole lot of mixed feelings about that. And in
Yeah,
the next,
Ben,
like,
you pointed
40
out
minutes.
their emblem to me that kind of looks like a paint swatch of like the moon or like some planetary body with like three things on top. It reminds me of the Microsoft logo, like the later one that's kind of like looks like a paint thing. That's just what
Okay, yeah, no,
what
I
I
get
saw.
you.
Yeah. It was cool. Your initial reaction to it was you thought there was like it was like 11 12s and one piece was missing representing the Gilliac star or something like that. It wasn't
Yeah.
quite that on the nose, but I think
No, it was in a similar light. Yeah, I was like, hey, wait a minute, like there seems to be like a missing fraction of this. Like maybe maybe that has something to do with the shunning of the Gilliac zodiac sign. But
even
I mean,
the emblem shows that their culture like focuses a lot on astrology and the planets and the stars, which is pretty cool.
yeah, it's like especially for a race or a species rather that hasn't left their planet yet to be so like painted with a space scene on their insignia. It's like, wow, like yeah, if they haven't left space yet or left to space rather, sorry, then they must be observing it very closely. And as we find out, like they're very astrology governed.
I don't think they have a space travel system either, because maybe it'd be insulting to go among the stars or something like that, right? Because there's no indication they did.
You're not going in the direction of Gilliac, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll move along a little bit. They do make first contact. They have all these like satellite dishes and stuff that they're using for this, and the first message they send is anybody out there, right? That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Is anyone out there?
Which makes sense.
There is people out there, as they find out.
No, it was a nice opening. It was a cool cold open, and no, it really set up the show well, because you're like, oh, it could be an optimistic thing, or there could be more of a twist, which we found out later on.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So yeah, after they send their transmission, we find out later that I think it's 4 years pass in the time that it takes the Orville to receive the transmission, but it happens very quickly in the episode.
It makes sense that it wouldn't just be like, oh, there we go, they picked it up. It's nice that it was a few years.
It's like on your phone, right? Like you walk into like a Wi-Fi zone. It's
yeah. I found on the first watching, I never really realized how much time has passed, but after a couple of rewatches, they drop like, oh, it's been like a month, or oh, it's been a few months.
It's true. Like in the initial, like my first viewing of the episode, I was not aware of how much time was actually passing. And then rewatching it, I was like really picking up on some smaller like notes that are like dropped there. This has taken them a long time. Like this whole first contact that doesn't go so well.
Yeah.
really takes the Orville off its like commission for quite
Maybe it
some
should be
time.
the last contact. Am I right? Jeez.
Oh, but
That's a terrible joke counter. That's one on the board. All right.
that's one on the board for Matt. Let's see. I'm sure it's gonna go worse for me, so we'll see.
Yeah. So,
Who's
anyways,
the winner in that? Sorry.
there's no winners in that. So, anyways, we get introduced to Tala Kiali, the New Zealand, and she's cool. She does have big shoes to fill for sure because everyone loved Alara. I don't know a single person that has a bad word to say about Alara.
And if you are one of these people that have a bad word about Solara, just keep it to yourself.
No, you can express it in the comment section and whatnot. We've got a Facebook page now if you guys want to check it out, as well as a YouTube channel, and we're on Spotify. So wherever it's easy, it's free to listen.
Join us.
Yeah, exactly. There's a nice little bit about how Tala, she punched her last captain in the face.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting, the circumstances. I guess like it was a female dominant.
Yeah, the Julisi,
I suppose. Julisi, there you go. So I guess in the conflict there, she had to exert kind of her dominance.
Junisi, not Julisi. I was off by 2 letters.
It's still very close.
I know.
Yeah, if this was a spelling bee, I would have given you credit.
No, what's cool is she says they're like a matriarchal society that values, women above men, and I think it's cool if we would see them later. It'd be a nice little name drop. Like now we got the line in there. Like I can easily see them appearing later on in the season or next season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it'd be really cool as well because this kind of reminds me of an episode of like Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't really remember like the entire context of things. But what I do remember is that Riker was all dressed up and he was having to kind of sweet talk their like governing leader. 'Cause she kind of selected him. And yeah, in this like matriarchal society, you'll see like Riker, and he's he's not, he's not the young strapping William Riker that we're used to. He's much more like passive and kind of not quite sheepish, but in the presentation,
he's more laid back.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting. It's kind of made me think of that in that brief moment there.
For sure. So they first hear that there's like a first contact. They get a message from another planet, and Ed just lights up like a Christmas tree. Like you can tell this is his favorite part of the job. He loves introducing new people to this whole galaxy.
Yeah, I believe Gordon is like, oh yeah, he says something like super enthusiastic, like he's hyped. Like the whole bridge is, honestly, everyone is like, it's
like pizza day at work times 10. You're
yeah,
yeah,
and not like 10 pizzas, but like 10 times better than that.
Yeah, your enjoyment levels for sure. What was interesting is like right before this is the infamous birthday introduction where Kelly is talking to Ed, and Ed's like, come on, just go ask her. You've led him into war. I think you can do this. And so then Kelly comes up and says to Borders like, hey Borders, do you want a shared birthday? And he goes, no. And what I took from the scene is Kelly basically like, sits on the control panel. Like I would love it if like a missile flew out or something like that.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Actually, like they just go to like some like quantum drive, like. Whoa, Jesus!
Yeah, I think that's like a perfect bit that I think the Orville would do. I hope they do that at some point.
Yeah, like what if I don't know, like environmental controls or perhaps like I don't know, just something got altered on the bridge, and Kelly's
sure.
like, oh.
I love Borders' talk of like, no, I'm not sharing a birthday, and then Gordon's got his back on. Yeah, he's gonna get half the presents, or he's gonna get less presents.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's kind of like I would say Borders is thinking about, he probably doesn't want to spend his birthday like partying. He probably wants to spend it, with his family. Exactly, right.
With Clyde and Topa.
Yeah, and then when like Kelly offers or suggests the idea of like a joint birthday, he's like, is this an order? And she's like, well, no, I just think it'd be fun. He's like. Like I'd prefer to celebrate alone, or I'd prefer to celebrate our birthday separately or something.
Yeah. So everyone grabs their stuff to get ready for the first contact. We see Dr. Finn getting some medical supplies, and everyone getting aboard the shuttle. And Borders is still like obsessed with the birthday thing, even though they're going this new planet where the world is opening up to these guys like they've never seen before. And Borders is like, we didn't agree on the joint birthday, did we?
So we've agreed against the joint birthday, correct? Like, oh my god, yeah. It's like you think about making first contact, and I mean, worlds change. There's a great speech later. It's beautiful. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
So they land on this planet. Right. Yeah, Rigor 2, exactly. So the shuttle lands on Rigor 2, and as Ed and the crew are approaching the prefect and his people, Ed says, "Hey, do you want to just like change our names? I've never really liked my name Ed. Do you just want to go by different names?" Like, and he wants to go by Chad and Maxine instead. Kind of reminds me of when you have a substitute teacher in class when you're young in elementary school, and then you think it's funny to change your name, and then you realize you have that substitute teacher for like a full week, and you're stuck as AJ Hodge.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's funny you say that actually, because today, earlier today, I went and no, not today. Sorry, this was yesterday. Yesterday, I went and I got breakfast, and I went to Tim Hortons. They asked me for my name. I said Benjamin. They thought I said Steven. And I was like, huh. I kind of know how Captain Ed felt right there.
I could
like,
just be Steven.
Perhaps I could just be Steven if I want to. And you know what? I actually lived it up. I was Steven. They said, yo, I got an order for Steve. And I said, hey, thanks.
Yo, Steve.
And I took it. Yo, Steve, I got you breakfast. Like,
yo, all right. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But like, it sounds like a good idea. But then Ed bailed on it quickly. He thought, hey, like, no, this is stupid. Like, we're obviously gonna have to like tell them that our names aren't.
Yeah, you can only keep the joke alive for so long before it just something slips or whatever. And it's funny. He's like, I think they know. Like, I feel like they know or something like that. Which is really funny.
Yeah, so it turns out this Gamma Valorian system does things a lot differently. We learn that it's essentially almost the same, but then once we get into the medical facility, we realize that there's an awful lot of C-sections.
Yeah, we actually get to see a premature C-section. Dr. Finn, actually, she'll run some quick tests, and she says that there's like absolutely no reason for this premature birthing to be like occurring.
Yeah, she has that fantastic medical scanner there that like works like even like through like a wall and stuff like that. And you can scan.
It's a medical tricorder of like the Union.
Yeah, it's pretty effective. It works. And thanks to like Finn and Tala really get down to the bottom of like the mystery of these people pretty quickly and solve it together.
Yeah,
I think
you're right. Tala has a big point later on that really is like a big key in the whole puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so after the witnessing of the premature C-sections at the hospital, well, actually in that moment, the doctor says, when Dr. Finn requests, she's like, why is this occurring? If you don't mind me asking, like, why are you doing this C-section? Yeah. And he's like, well, you must know, like, being, blah, 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 to prevent Gilliac. And she says, like, questions it, like, what is Gilliac? And, he struggles. He tries to think of, like, maybe like a translated equivalent or something like that from Gilliac. Like, oh, you must call it something different. Yeah. And he expresses that they're like criminal and predisposed to criminal and violent behavior.
Yeah, his name is Dr. Faylar. I find he looks a lot like Will Forte, the actor. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's on SNL and in a lot of the silly comedy movies. I noticed he's bald, and the other male doctor was bald. I don't know if that's a thing that their male doctors are all bald. Of the two we've seen, they're bald.
That's true.
Including the one that removes a tooth. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but I thought that was interesting. Maybe it's more sanitary to have like, Yeah. I can't guess. I don't know if it's by choice or what, but he might be I don't know if they're baldists or not, like Costanza would say. No, but I thought that was cool. That was an interesting kind of touch. I don't know if that's based on their medical knowledge, but yeah, I would say that I wouldn't trust the medical acumen of these doctors of the Gregorian doctors if they're doing early births based on stars that blew up 3,000 years ago. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like we understand like today in planet Earth and everything, like religious beliefs can't really conflict with like your patient's health. You'll have to refer them to another doctor or something like that.
It's hard to practice your faith when you're dead, I find. That's just
absolutely, it's a tricky one.
Unless you get into like a really deep meditation, and then you can just kind of go into the astral plane and get it on and with your religion and faith. But that's just me. I don't know too much about that kind of stuff. After the tour, we cut to the dining hall, and this scene reminded me a lot of Shrek 2, where you can sense the tension. You know that something bad's going to happen here.
I love the Shrek 2 reference. I love it.
Yeah, so next week when we're talking about Shrek 3, get ready for it. Shrek the Third, actually. I'm not a fool.
I've seen the films. I know.
Yeah. One cool thing we learned from this scene is that there's no currency in the Orville. Their reputation is their currency, which is an interesting element.
Yeah, no, it is cool because, maybe in like a utopian society, I believe this is actually something Dr. Flynn says. She says, we don't see it fit or like ethically sound to force people to like work long hours for like monetary like things. It's like it seems like they have like some really awesome I don't even know what I want to call it, like maybe like space socialism kind of thing, but like money's completely out of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like modified socialism where it's like your title, like your reputation and probably the way you've lived your life and how you carry yourself and probably your criminal record and stuff like that. Your reputation is everything, which would inspire you to just, hey, I'll choose what I want to do. If I want to be a musician or whatever, I'll contribute to society that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just seems like a very like liberating means of. It just seems, yeah, it seems great because obviously we live under like capitalist kind of thing, and where money really talks, and the rich have everything, and like the poor, don't really have enough to sustain themselves. But in this kind of future that we're looking brightly in towards, everyone's really provided with like what they need, and it really comes down to like what you're passionate about in certain cases, and yeah, like being I guess credited to society for your education and for I guess like the social aspects are more about like what you've achieved as like an individual and less of like how much money you're making doing that.
Yeah, if nothing else, it saves the show from having to talk about like, oh, how'd we afford this, or oh, I'm gonna have to talk to the union, whatever, about getting these new photon torpedoes or something. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's like we
gets
see
rid of money
barters, we see like trades here and there, but yeah, it's not like Union HQ, can you bill us down, like $1 million whatever dollars or something for.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty cool reveal and a nice little world building thing in like 2 sentences. And Ed says, we all do better when we all do better. So
yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Like, I actually might put it in here.
In the vast emptiness of the universe, we have found a fullness of cultural diversity. And when a first contact unfolds like this, the cosmos becomes a living, breathing organism, so that within that emptiness, we become a way for the universe to know itself. We are honored to know Rigor 2.
That speech is really good. I'd like to put it in. I think the "We all do better when we all do better" is a speech from like an actual politician.
Okay.
So like they weren't kidding when they said they stole that speech from everything.
That's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, he says he's plagiarized it from like 9 different sources or something like that, which I think is phenomenal. It's like a very moving speech, but yeah, like the comedic value is totally there when he admits that to Kelly. You're just like, oh my god, like that was so moving. But it's
almost like the mission statement of the Orville, where it's I kind of stole this from like it's like a hodgepodge of really cool sci-fi elements and like just love for all these sci-fi shows, and it shows.
Yeah, I guess like you're right. In very many ways, it's kind of like just kind of like shout outs to that like ideology and from different sources. I think that's brilliant, actually. Yeah, I hadn't even considered that, Matt. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it stood out to me a lot when I watched the episode. Later on, the prefect asked Tala. He says, "Oh, we've heard that your kind are really strong and stuff like that." She goes, "Oh," and he wants her to like show him like it's a party trick, and she goes, "You want me to balance a ball on my nose? Is that it?" And
everyone gets a kick out of that too. They all laugh like wholeheartedly.
Yeah, but we still want to
proceed. Like
yeah. And then she goes, "Oh, is this important to you?" And it's like a candelabra. And I like the way that she blows out each candle individually, like it's like some kind of performance that she's done before.
Yeah, I noticed that as well on my. This is my third watching of the episode. I noticed that. I was like, wait a minute. There's like a certain like I don't know, like a certain grace or subtlety or something about like poof, poof, poof. And then it's like go time. It's quite a show, really. Yeah, she's a good entertainer.
Yeah. So everything's going well and good until Kelly reveals that it's her birthday in like a week, and I think this just reveals the dangers of a nonchalant birthday drop. Like, hey, we'll find out if it's your birthday. Don't tell us, and you might get thrown in a concentration camp.
Yeah. No, it's pretty insane actually. She's like, oh yeah, this is like the best kind of birthday gift I could ever ask for. Like, I love like the first contact. It's so brilliant. Yeah. And then yeah, she mentions it again because the first prefect asks her, he's like, what'd you say? She goes, it's my birthday next week. And then it's just seize them. It's like, holy cap, things take such a sharp turn. There's like, oh my god, P90s are getting hauled out. Like it is it is no longer a friendly first contact. You know,
If she hadn't brought up the joint birthday in the beginning, Bortus wouldn't have like had to say anything at the end of the table. Wouldn't have gotten locked up with her either.
I know,
So this joint birthday did kind of screw him.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like the whole idea of the joint birthday actually got them, imprisoned into like some sort of camp for, I guess, what ends up being almost a month. It's like 4 weeks or something, they said. There's so much awful stuff comes from this. Oh my God,
At
Kelly.
least it
like,
gave them
keep
the
your
opportunity
birthday.
to bond, though, right? They wouldn't have bonded if it wasn't for this joint birthday. It really did join them together.
Yeah, no, you're right. I guess, I mean, yeah, no, you're right. When you're exposed to someone that long and, you know, you're kind of dependent on each other in like a hard time or whatever, it's like even though you guys weren't maybe particularly good friends before, and that's why Bortus probably would neglect like the birthday party to seek like birthday celebrations with his family. But now, you know, wow, after you've been through that together and you've survived,
They're locked up, and Ed is automatically like, okay, what's going on here? What's the meaning of this? Like, I did not expect this. This is not how first contacts are supposed to go. And they're put into a holding cell, everybody except Bortus and Kelly, who are taken away to a much worse location. The second bald doctor comes in, and after Tala pins him up against the wall, choking him, he manages to take a tooth sample from Ed, which on a rewatch I'm not liking this because I'm getting a root canal soon, so not enjoying that. But
yeah, no, for sure.
You'd be like, I don't know about you guys, but like if I get a procedure done, like even like a filling or something in my tooth, I'm always feeling around like, oh, that's different. Every time that Ed moves his tongue around his mouth, he's gonna feel that little hole there where that little piece of tooth was. And go, oh yeah, that was the time that I almost got thrown to camp for my birth.
No, it's true actually. I was thinking that when I rewatched it as well. Like, he goes, it's not gonna hurt or whatever. And man, that's a really intense grinding sound that you hear afterwards, and he kind of winces. Anyway,
we don't have space travel, but we can pull a tooth piece from you and tell your age, so we know whether to treat you properly or not.
to be ethical or not towards you. But yeah, so Captain Ed, our security officer, and our doctor each get a tooth sample. And it comes back negative. They're not Gilliac at this point in time in the episode. We still don't know what Gilliac really means.
No.
So
but it doesn't sound like it's a great thing to be in their society.
Yeah, it seems very bad. Actually. From what we understand, if such force is used to even on individuals that we're not sure of are Gilliacs or not, that's a bit of excessive force.
The prefect says to Ed, like, we don't want you here.
He tells him to go.
Because this threatens their way of life. Like, if these guys don't go by the Gilliac code, they obviously would have more advanced science, and they would either bring in Gilliacs or threaten their way of life. So I think the prefect's position is pretty interesting, where it's like, how much does this guy actually believe in it, and how much does he want to just hold on to his power?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you look at any large social group, in this case it's an entire planet, the society is very based on this astrological kind of belief system. So let's say you had, a group of people that believed in, just one thing that they've only ever been exposed to. As soon as you question that, I mean, that's like everything to them. That's their entire society. Like, if you're proven wrong, that stars are sometimes just stars. Then,
their way of life's been going on like 700 years longer than the Christianity influence on the Western world and a large part of the world.
And I mean, then if you look at it, and if you're like, to accept that maybe your belief system is incorrect and stars are in fact just stars, then you have to deal with like the ethical and moral like repercussions of mistreatment of Gilliacs, which is, presumably a very large population.
Yeah, exactly. And the prefect we keep calling just prefect, that's the only title that he has basically on the cast list. His name is John Rubenstein. He does a great job in this episode.
He does a really good job, actually. He conveys like a lot of like extreme emotion, very believable, like good acting. But yeah, all we have for a name is First Prefect, really. And
basically the assumption is that Gilliacs are more violent, which is this otherism where if you're like, oh no, these are the bad guys, let's have 90% of us against these guys. It's very much otherism, a lot of like what Hitler did with the Jewish people, which is interesting because this episode aired on the week of the Holocaust Memorial Day.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so the timing was pretty spot on. I don't think that was by accident.
No, maybe this is like quite a big salute and like a remembrance to kind of like what happened and like let's not.
Yeah, it's hard not to
make
think
mistakes over.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Something I did notice as well is with the comparison to like Nazi Germany at the time, as we probably all know, Jewish people were forced to wear stars to identify them as Jewish. In the camps, I noticed that there's like a red. It looks like like on their red jumpsuits, they have a black diamond that's actually looks like it's kind of disappearing almost. It looks like it's seeping away. So this may be referencing like the collapse of the star, and they may not even really know it. But yeah, I noticed that all the Gilliacs were wearing a black diamond.
Well, I think that they're trying to say that the Black Diamond brand that makes cheese strings, those guys are real sick sons of bitches. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
No, I
don't buy it for your kids.
If you guys if Cracker Barrel wants to sponsor us, sure. I don't think Black Diamond's going to, but I wrote down a list of the different astrological signs that we saw that were revealed throughout the episode. So we all know Gilliac, that's the main one, and they're said to be violent. The month after that is the Wasanda sign, and they are the sign of future leaders. So maybe that's because, like, hey, they're the star system right after. They'll be the future leaders to lead us after this dark period. And
interesting.
We learned 5 of what we presume are probably 12. There's Gilliac, which we know are said to be violent. Wasanda are the system right after. They're the sign right after. It's the sign of future leaders, which might be because one system was taken by a black hole, so they assign meaning to the next one. Like they're the ones that have to lead us from the ashes. The other is we learned there's one Panaji and one Korriban on the crew of the Orville. It's either Ed, Dr. Finn, Tala, or it might be it.
Yeah, it was Tala, Ed, and Finn who went down.
Yeah. That and Bordas and Kelly were, of course, the Gilliac.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Not to forget about you, Kelly and Bordas. We know you're going through some hard shit.
Yeah, and the other sign is Valet. So I don't know if this is going to come up again or not, but I thought it was interesting that they had all these different names for them, and it'd be cool to learn the meanings of the other ones.
Yeah, it would be. Who knows? Maybe the inhabitants of Rigor 2 might, take a little bit of time, reconsideration now that the events that have happened. I'm not going to say it right now, but maybe they'll reach out to the Union again after a little bit of time has passed to maybe reconsider some things, right?
Yeah, well, I'd like to talk about that at the tail end, because I bet we're going to see them again, because it's very precarious position they're left in.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized while watching this episode, those episodes of TV where they juvenile kids to like prison to like scare them straight and so they don't mess around anymore. They like show them like criminals and they basically like yell at them until they realize, okay, I should stop messing around. That's essentially what it was like for Bordas. Like they bring him down and they're like, okay, you have to be okay with sharing a birthday. You think it's bad sharing a birthday? Well, you got to share it in this camp right now. That's basically what it was like.
Oh my god.
That's
actually that's great. I love that actually. Come on, Bordas. Like, you find out at the end of the episode, it's all like a big joke just to get Bordas to be okay with something. It's like, it could have been worse. We've been in the holodeck the whole time. Like,
I will gladly share a birthday with you on the ship. It's like, all right, Mom, I don't want to do this. I want to go to prison. I'll gladly, clean my room at the house, or whatever.
Exactly.
So we are introduced to Admiral Perry, played by Ted Danson, which is great. Nice of him to join us via Skype. Basically, is all he had to do.
Thanks for tuning in, Ted. Like,
I never get pissed off with Ted Danson in shows, but Admiral Perry basically says, like, Ed, you can't do anything. When Ed goes to talk to him, like, remember what happened on Mauchline? You didn't do anything, which was a nice callback to the early episode in season 1. We see Bordas and Kelly in the prison camp, and they meet these guards, and one of the guards is like this like white balding dude. He's like super good at playing a douche. Like he's really good at just being super punchable. They get into a bit of a scrap, and eventually, which is like what they almost wanted Gilliac. You're like, see, you're Gilliac, you're violent or whatever, which is what you would be like if your life is threatened based on who you are. You would either cower or maybe people would get violent. And the ones that cower, like, see, it's just under the surface. They'll be violent eventually, or the violence will creep out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to subject anybody to this kind of treatment, like, yeah, I would probably become very aggressive,
hostile
after,
for sure.
Yeah, like the Gilliac camps are quite a strange thing when you find out about them. Like the society seems really progressive and like willing to, like they're reaching out, like they should be quite mature. I mean, I'm not going to say mature because their religion or their beliefs don't really have to conflict with
the
maturity.
Society. I can see why they left the camps off the tour, though. It makes sense to me. It checks out. Like they know the camps are bad. Like they didn't tell anybody, but they know the camps are bad. But it's almost like I don't know. It's almost like having Hugo in the attic there on the Trees of Horror episode. Like they don't even bother showing him off. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they truly believe what they claim to believe, maybe they wouldn't even want to expose this on a first contact.
Or they just
because it
assume
might.
you guys have Gilliacs already. You guys know, like, basically, I guess is their assumption.
Well, that was actually, it was the assumption. You're right. Yeah, like throughout the episode, they're like, you must know what a Gilliac, like Gilliacs, they're Gilliacs, no matter where they're from and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, they have like this kind of belief that's very close-minded and kind of unique to their star system. It proves to be very problematic for the Union.
Yeah, in the camp we meet Rokal and Yukania, who are a couple that have been in the camp for what seems like a long time, and we get a lot of like the view of the life of a Gilliac on that planet from them, and they say stuff like, "Oh, we're Gilliacs, we deserve to be here, we belong here." They believe that they are inferior to the others, and it's that thing of if you keep telling someone they're terrible for their whole life, eventually they're going to believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty moving in these scenes when you see them talk about like who they are and everything. Rokal has a brief quote, and it's something along the lines of, we're Gilliacs, like we're pretty much predisposed to being criminals and violent, and if it doesn't exist on the surface, it exists deep within. They really believe that they're inferior and that they're not equals at all. It's so heavily, it almost seems like it hasn't really been questioned by anyone in there. Like,
No, it's just ingrained in the system.
Yeah, it's just such a core element of their belief that like they can't really question it, perhaps.
Ed has a discussion with the prefect. I find is very similar to the Talia Ed discussion, where it's like a debate about like belief and faith and rules and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not incredibly diplomatic. Yeah, so Ed and Tala, they show up and they're not very diplomatic. Like if they want to find common ground, they should try and really be more understanding of like their beliefs, and they should, I mean, it is a first contact, like you have to play by their rules unless you want to really paint like the cosmos with a very negative brush. So like they should really be like, I mean, I found that kind of to be a weird scene. I thought Tala was a little bit harsh, and like she wasn't very well spoken. And even Ed kind of lost his cool. I mean, obviously, there's a lot on the line.
This was Tala's only screw up in the episode, other than choking the guy, but that's warranted or whatever, choking the doctor. But by saying like, oh, we just judge people by their birthdays, like sarcasm is not going to get you diplomacy very fast.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I understand that like the Orville is a like science fiction comedy.
Oh, for sure.
But in the scene, yeah, it's definitely not an appropriate means of trying to get your crew back.
I agree. We get an address from the prefect, and he talks about, oh, it's the month of the Wasanda, or the time of Wasanda, and I'm pretty sure the prefect would be Wasanda because they're meant for leadership, and I think that's probably a shoo-in. I think they probably only really look to people as like, hey, you want to be leader? Well, what's your star sign, right? I assume that's a part of it.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right. Like if we find out that like astrology does govern their planet, and if we know that like Gilliacs are inherently violent and criminal in behavior, and we know the Basanda are like prosperous, like great leaders and everything like that, I would say yeah, like a lot of it might come down to just like your star sign. If you're trying to get certain, like it could be like a caste system almost. We don't know enough about the other, what we're assuming are 10 other star signs. We really only do get enough information on Gilliac Masanda to really talk about them in any amount of depth.
Yeah, it's the one we know the most about other than Gilliac's.
From what we know of Gilliac and Wasanda, like we can say that, it probably does actually have a huge impact on your life as whatever you were born as.
Yeah, we're only seeing like a 42-minute snippet of their entire culture. So it actually gives quite a bit of information considering. At the end of the scene, they close it by him saying, oh, the Wasanda people, if you're Wasanda, you'll be richly rewarded. Jump cut to Bortus and Keller receiving some weird slop on their plate there, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, so, it's such a good like cut scene, just splack, and you're like, yeah, what?
Yeah, really cool juxtaposition there. I like that.
That was really good.
One thing we forgot to mention is Yukania is actually pregnant at this point of time, and time has been passing right before her eyes, and she's just starting to give birth when they're returning to the camp, to their little, what is it, their bunker there in the camp.
Like sleeping quarters.
Yeah, their quarters.
Whatever nature. Yeah,
so Yukania's giving birth, and she says, like, I don't want any help, don't get any guards and stuff like that, because she doesn't want the kid to be taken from her. She knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, if her child is born under the Wasanda sign, then, I mean, the baby's going to be taken, so She doesn't request for a doctor. Kelly and Bortis do, well, not so much Bortis. Bortis runs a couple errands pretty quickly.
Bortis tries. He asks if
yeah.
there'd be an egg, but other than that, he knows there's not much else he can do to help.
This would be much easier with an egg. Like,
will there be an egg? Yeah, I loved it. So he goes to gets a bucket and some towels. I don't know. I didn't know they were handing those out at detention camps, but
hey, can I get some hot water? I'm gonna make some tea. Like,
yeah, I don't think so. So this was a really cool scene because Kelly, this would probably be the happiest moment of her last month. We learned like a month has gone by since they've been in the camp. She would have been going through a terrible time, but you can tell she gets joy out of bringing like a new life into this world as kind of dystopian as it is.
It's a brilliant insight to Kelly's character. Like very, very strong, like capable, intelligent, like emotionally supportive. Like I think she would be like a good salute to Janeway in a lot of instances. If you guys have seen Star Trek Voyager,
yeah.
Very.
This was my favorite Kelly episode. I thought she killed it.
Oh yeah, man, this is such a good Kelly episode. We really, I mean, obviously we're following her and Bortis around a lot, but we get just to see so much insight into like their just like their beings, like get inside their minds really, and start to understand them more.
For sure, I thought this was a cool moment, and then you have like the biggest philosophical debate of the episode where the husband wants to keep the kid, Rogar or whatever his name is. Rokal. I was close. Rogar on Rhaegar. No, it's Rokal there. He doesn't want to give the kid, but he knows, hey, it's probably a better life if we give up the kid. They could grow up to be a great leader. And you'd be a pretty good politician if you could tell that story. Like, hey, I grew up in a camp and I started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
Yeah, no, totally.
Although it would kind of hurt you if they still hate Gilliacs. But I bet after the whole thing takes place and the Gilliacs are back, baby. They're back, baby.
They're back, baby.
Yeah. I bet that that kid will have a great political future in that world.
Yeah, it's a huge like moral and ethical decision. As we know, Euconia, she does not want to give the child up. Like she says no, like we're not giving the child up. We're not. Rokal asks her, how long do you intend to like keep this child a secret? And she goes, forever. And I mean, obviously, like this woman has just gone through childbirth. Like she's put in so much effort to like enter or bring this life into this world, and you don't want to give that up. Like a mother's, from what I understand, people see, like their children, and I am not a father, so I don't
even want to give up my cat, so I can't imagine what it's like to have like a living, breathing, like miniature human that's yours.
Yeah, just a little you. But I mean, as we find out later, very quickly actually, in like a couple of minutes, there is a routine kind of like checkup on the, I was going to call them inmates, but they're just born under the Gilliacs. So there's routine.
And they're looking
inspection.
for contraband, yeah.
Yeah, they start flipping towels or blankets, and they're looking like no contraband here, and they're about to leave, and Rokal actually calls out, and he says, if you flip up the floorboards, you'll find a Wasanda child. They look kind of weird, and they walk over and they investigate, and they have found the child. Euconia does not take this well at all. No, you can absolutely sympathize with her. But I think personally, I mean, Matt, I think you'd probably agree with me. I think most of our viewers would. I mean, I'm not a parent, like I've said, but all we can really do is probably just like try our absolute hardest to provide the best life for our children. And I think that's really what would really dictate like a good parent, right? Like whatever's in your means, like trying like your hardest. And like growing up in an internment camp it's not a life that anyone should really have to live.
I agree with Rokal here for sure. And if you guys see it differently, just shoot off in the comments there on Facebook or send us a tweet or whatever about it, because I think it's a cool debate, and they showed both sides of it, where I totally understand the emotional side of it, but to have your kid grow up in a camp, it reminds me a lot of Futurama with Leela's parents. Spoiler alert for those that haven't seen Futurama, which you should. Her parents are mutants, and they give her up so that she can live a life on the surface, because she looks different enough that she can get by as like an alien or like a cyclops, so that she can live a normal life above the surface. But the mutants live underground in New York, so that's kind of cool.
That's a really good connection, actually, Matt. It is a really heartfelt moment when you find out all of that, and Leela's parents just wanted her to have the best opportunity she could, right? And again, like this is parallel to Rokal. Like he just wanted to provide his child the best absolute life that a parent could, well, the most he could do in his situation.
Either way, about 15 minutes is going to be irrelevant. They can have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. As we soon find out, it's going to be Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, also a very big moment in this is after the baby's taken, one of the guards actually pushes Euconia down. This woman just gave birth, and they know this because they found the child.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're doing inspections for contraband, like I would assume daily. They would know that she was pregnant, and the next day she was not. They physically like pushed her to the floor very hard, and that's when Kelly was like, "This is enough. This ends now."
Yeah.
Orta says, "What do you intend to do?" And she says, "Well, I don't think it would be out of first contact protocols to act exactly as they want us to act." And
we're one of them now. You want to see some Gilliacs? We're Gilliacs now. We're rebel scum, to quote The Last Jedi, which hurts me to do.
Like, no, I like that.
It is like that. It's like, okay, I am a Gilliac now. Like, I think I've lived enough of a life that we're on an equal playing field with these guys. Bortus doesn't really have superpowers. I don't think he has like super strength compared to these guys. So it's like, hey, we're breaking out now. Enough's enough. I'm not going to die not to break first contact protocol. And they're not even really doing it because they are basically.
Yeah, and like in regards to like the society, like they're kind of actually, yeah, like they're staying in line with what is expected of someone from that star sign, and that it's just so funny. It's actually a nice loophole. I like it. Good one, Kelly. Good on you.
One thing that Bortus mentions as well, they're still in the camp, is that on Moclan there's like their own special astrology system. And
it's about the moons, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why he might not like the birthday so much, because his astrological sign might not be a favorable one on his planet.
I actually had not even considered that. I think that's a brilliant point to have noticed, Matt.
I didn't even really think about it too much until I got the mind to turning. But no, I think it's cool, and that's why it annoys me if you're like, oh, it's just dick and fart jokes. It's like there might be a couple jokes in that, but we haven't mentioned any in the last an hour and a half of content that we've given you guys. So I think there's a lot more to the show than the surface and what people might have assumptions about the show. There's more to it.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a comedy, but like it's still touching on like very, very like interesting, timeless kind of concepts that we as humans could have very likely experienced if history had unfolded differently, or it's not too far-fetched,
Yeah, exactly. And while all the stuff is going on in the camp, like over the month, the crew is trying to do everything they can to figure out the situation. They don't want to break protocol, but they also can't leave their two friends in an internment camp. It's a tough dilemma.
Okay, we get to a scene, and Captain Ed is talking to Admiral Perry. Kelly's boyfriend's there as well. They're trying to kind of, leverage the Admiral a little bit, try and see if he can be a little bit more lenient. He mentions that the Orville has been out of commission for a month, and they really just want to get things back under go. They're going to try and send their own diplomats out, and he's given orders to leave orbit within 24 hours. So clock is ticking now. He's got to think quick.
For sure. Then they realize that they do a study about, I think is it Tala that discovers the black hole, or thinks to look for a black hole?
There's a nice scene where she's gazing out into the stars. And then she comes back with, the brilliant idea to start scanning for a black hole.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. They tell Lamar what to look for, and he tells Isaac, and they search and they find the black hole that was there 3,122 years ago, and it swallowed the Gilliac star.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we know, they're very based off of astrology, their beliefs. So Dr. Finn says that it's very likely that a planet in that kind of
early stage.
Yeah, in the early stages and that kind of belief system, that could be perceived as like a very bad omen.
Yeah.
And we find out that is, in fact, why Gilliac has been kind of shunned, really. Yeah, shunned.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of fills in the blank, and it's like a smart thing, and it really shows just how even something as archaic as something disappearing 3,000 years ago can dictate the future of hundreds of thousands of lives, if not more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think the population of Rigor 2 is ever really mentioned, but you can assume that it's going to be, not exactly, but roughly a 12th, if that's how their system works, if they have 12 months.
Yeah, so they devise a plan to make a fake star using what is it on top of the ship? It's like a reflective umbrella-looking thing.
Yeah, I don't remember what they refer to it as, but yeah, it's this big kind of octagon of like reflective material, and it's supposed to be reflecting light back. So yeah, they're trying to fake the star's reappearance.
Yeah, they put that on top of a shuttle, and Gordon and John fly it out, and they're like, "Oh, do you think this is working?" Like, we'll see. Like they have like no faith, and thank God it does work. And at the same time, they have to jam the scanners or the satellites of the Gregorians, which is interesting because we learned that all their satellites are just for looking at the stars and stuff like that. So most of their technological advancement has been hindered by their lust for more knowledge of the stars.
Yeah, it's true. I believe Isaac's the one who mentions that. He goes, "That would like confirm what I found. Like it sounds like their satellites have only been configured to track like the movement of the star, not like the composition, like the materials or like anything that really has more, I guess, scientific value." So yeah, like you're absolutely right, Matt. I would agree with you. Their technology is advancing, even with like their medical procedures. He said that they're one of the first hospitals ever to have like made this many incubators for these premature births.
Yeah, which is a bad thing to be focusing on.
Well, it is a bad thing.
We don't even need the incubators.
No, I know. But yeah, it shows that their technology is very driven off, like still like their astrological belief system.
I hope it doesn't apply to animals too. Like, like, oh, that donkey over there, he's a Gilliac. We're going to hunt those ones. Like, that'd be pretty terrible. I don't think they go that far, but you never know with these Gregorians. They can be crazy.
Yep, it's another culture. So it's a different world. It is a different world.
Yeah, so as they mount this mission to build a decoy star, Kelly and Boris plan their escape from the camp. It's good timing, thank God, because if they did this even like an hour earlier, I think they'd be in trouble.
Impeccable timing.
Yeah, they sneak out and they catch a guard by surprise. Kelly like whops him a few times and then sends him to Bordas, and Bordas just like beats the hell out of them. I like that.
Yeah, it was really great. I love that scene there. It's just like thump, thump, throws him off Bordas, whack, whack, the guy's out cold. It's like tag team for the win. It was great.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
It's cool because these guys use modified P90s, these Gregorians, which is one of my favorite weapons to use in shooting games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys, you got P90s, we've got P90s. You know?
They adapted to using those guns pretty quickly because I assume most of their guns have like lasers that shoot at them or something like that, or some energy beams or something like that. So
yeah, I would say you're right. I'd say it's mostly going to be like an energy beam kind of system. But yeah, they just picked them up and they went to work on some people.
Yeah, and these guards must not have been very good because Bordas like sneaks up to the guard tower and like climbs up a ladder. If you can't hear like big ass Bordas coming your way, then you shouldn't be on guard duty. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's kind of like, man, take your like earbuds out. You're on duty. You've got a Mucklin climbing up like a ladder behind you. How do you not even feel like the reverberation in the wood,
Yeah, I don't know what their end game was for this plan because realistically, just two people running out, and then they do get stopped like right as they open the gates. There's like a van coming in. It's really risky. Plus, they don't even know like the rest of the planet, so it is a really risky plan. But the alternative is just to wait, possibly forever.
No, for sure. I mean, like I know when I saw that, I kind of thought that as well, and I kind of went a little bit further, and I thought, so what if they did get out? Like they don't have any means of communication with like their ship. It's like, what are they going to do? And this is something I kind of thought about. I want to hear what you think about it as well. I'm going to say that there's multiple like, internment camps all kind of clumped together. So it's like if you got out of one section,
there could be others in other areas. So they mentioned that there's more than one camp when they close them down. It says, oh, there's only one camp left open or something like that.
Ah, you're right. They said like the last camp closed today or something like that.
Well, what you said has me thinking there's probably an underground society like Zion and Matrix Reloaded of like Gilliacs that escaped, the ones that don't follow up to the label and believe that they should be in prison. So they get captured again, Kelly and Bordas, right as they're escaping, and they basically get hauled up to be executed. And wouldn't you know it, at the nick of time, there goes the Gilliac star, 100% there, not coincidence at all. Yeah, we cut to the prefect in his office, and he's looking at the stars, and they're like, oh, they say it's true, the star's back or whatever. And they go, what does this mean? He goes, change, because he has to go with it. That's the way the wind is blowing. And as a politician, you have to know which way the wind is blowing.
Absolutely.
And he immediately changes and said, hey, you know what? We're probably going to have to close the camps. Doesn't say it, but that's what's implied.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy moment, actually, because this is like a recurring thing we see through the episode. This quote is just, the stars don't lie. The stars don't lie. So if he really believes what he's saying and the stars don't lie, like Gilliac has been, relieved of its burden for 3,122 years.
Watch them just worship the Gilliacs like more than everybody else, and they become like above everyone else, and it's just like reverse.
Yeah, it's like Gilliac came from great, awful place.
Yeah, they can
And
withstand the mighty black hole.
yeah. Oh, wow. They could be like the next. Wow, they could be like the next Wasanda almost, like overcoming that.
Yeah, right. I didn't even think about that. That's why I like these podcasts, because when we bounce ideas off each other, it ignites other thoughts. It's cool.
Yeah, it kind of just like sparks flames, and like I mean, loosely you want to stick to some ideas that you point out, but then your body just opens your mind to a whole nother means of thinking. You really have to take the time to consider it.
So what's cool is after they see the star and they're brought back on the ship, they don't really talk about it too much. It's just quickly done. They're just back on the ship because we've only got 42 minutes and we told a hell of a story.
It's been quite a story, guys. We've summarized a month into 42 minutes.
It's time for their joint birthday that's been foreshadowed for a while now, and it's a fun one.
It is quite a banger. Yeah, I love the birthday scene. I like how they don't have it in like a mess hall or like 10 forward or anything like that. It's like right on the bridge. It needs to be.
Well, they make a note of it so that they can
show
their crappy little gift dance thing. So
yeah,
that's the whole reason. That is what Gordon and John would care about. Like, oh no, we can't do this. We risk the whole crew dying here just so we can get this little crappy animated thing on this.
No, for sure. So we're flying blind.
Yeah, I usually hate those things as well when I see them, but seeing Bortus's face on it does make it fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see how people would feel like either way about it all. Like, it is a kind of a cringy moment. But it's funny, guys.
They play
up. It's funny.
They say celebrate good times or whatever, and the third time all I could say was celebrate good times, no camp.
Woo!
A celebration.
It's been a month. We're good to get out. Bortus, I mean, he should be happy as hell to have this joint birthday now.
Yeah, and that wraps up the musical portion of our podcast.
Yeah, you'll have to tune in next time to hear more of our great jams.
Yeah, we'll be singing big band music with Seth. You know how he does it. No, but what I like in the background, which I didn't catch until I looked up on the wiki, is in the background they're teaching Isaac how to do the robot, which is pretty cool.
Oh, no way. I didn't see that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, right? I thought that was a nice little bit. You can watch the episode 3 times and still not catch everything.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to be watching it for a 4th time tonight, perhaps, just to see Isaac.
At least for that clip near the end, it's nice. It's revealed that the baby born on Rhaegar that Kelly helped bring into the world is named after Kelly, which is a nice fitting tribute.
Yeah, it's a very, very sweet thing.
I just thought of it now.
Way to remember them.
I just thought of this now. Kelly's going to be a pretty weird name when you have names like Euconia and Rhaegar. It's like, oh, I'm Kelly. Yeah, I'm Kelly.
Yeah, no, totally. It's kind of like, I've never heard of Kelly before.
An
Earth name.
The saviors of her people kind of, gave birth to me. Whatever, it's no big deal.
Pretty much like the Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that Kelly's got a bright future in politics there on Rhaegar too. I'm telling you.
I would say so. She's made quite an influence on at least two people's lives for sure. One
interesting thing, which is probably the most interesting thing for the end of this episode. Usually they don't end on a cliffhanger, and it's not a cliffhanger, but they talk to Ed, and they're like, well, what if they find out that it's a fake star? Which they very well could, because that's all their satellites do is look at the stars. There's going to be hell to pay, right? These guys are going to be super pissed and might want to maybe not go to war, but they're not going to want anything to do with the Union.
So yeah, Ed's really he has to come to terms with what happens if Rhaegar 2 finds out that they've essentially been duped. You've not only, you feel
stupid, right? You already feel like these guys think they're telling you what to do, and now they're changing your entire belief system with one lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and it's such an abuse of the technology, right? Like, if we know anything about first contact, I feel like that's like a big no. I understand though, because oftentimes you have to do what you have to do to get your crew members back, and not only just your crew member, but like your ex-wife. Like, there has to be like a lot of if not love, like respect, and that person means a lot to you.
Those are ex-wife and ex-husband goals right there. Hey, I'm in an internment camp, but some guys would just leave you there, but no, he goes and does everything again to save you. What a good guy.
As we know, Admiral Perry has already told him, no, you can't interfere. We have diplomats on the way. You're to come back in 24 hours. Well, to leave orbit in 24 hours. And instead of taking his admiral's direct orders, actually, he's just like, you know what? I will leave in 24 hours.
Yeah, I predict
but I'll be damned if they weren't with me.
I predict a very pissed off call from Theodore Danson later on in the season. Ed, what did you do? He's gonna go off on him. He already seemed pretty pissed this episode. So I think he's gonna kill him. He's gonna go off. He's gonna explode on Ed. But
Yeah, I
there's
would think so.
this season's been so good because there's been a slow build and there's stuff that they've left for later, like Talea. We're gonna run into her again with the Krill, and now this. We're gonna see the Rigorians, or at least I hope we are, because it's a big it's a big cliffhanger. Not a cliffhanger, but it's a big like what if scenario that it's gonna be on my mind for a while.
Yeah, it definitely opens a window that's not easily shut. You have all these new species being introduced in this season. Okay, so we met the Genesi. I mean, obviously the Krill's nothing new, but like relations are moving forward, whichever pace. The Shock-Tall are a new race.
You think the Genesi would be hating the Mocklins?
Oh, the Mocklin,
He would be hating them because they're mostly male and they only have one woman born every 100 years or whatever.
Yeah, like very infrequently.
So
yeah,
they're diametrically opposed, which would be pretty cool. I'd like to see them interact.
Yeah, no, you're right. That would be interesting if they maybe had to provide safe passage or something to one of these individuals, and then maybe she has to like be exposed to Bortus quite a bit and like, flash heads, but maybe they can see past it all.
It's been a lot of good world building for sure.
Like we've definitely expanded our understanding of like the Orville's universe.
Yeah, we get two shots when they're partying of Ed looking over at Kelly and then she comes over and talks to him, and then even when she leaves, I think the last scene of the episode, the last shot is like him looking at Kelly. Obviously, probably not entirely over her, and probably I think they're gonna get together before all is said and done.
I mean, like, come on, Kelly. Cautious, like he's an elementary school teacher on a spaceship. Like, he's a captain.
Well, he's like the generic like other guy. Like he's the other guy, It doesn't get much.
For sure.
I actually like the relationship a bit more in this scene where they showed it's like that's just what Kelly's like. She's a cartoon character. She's gotta stop or whatever. I like that moment. It was nice.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was a good moment. Yeah, just that final scene, everything that was going on there on like the birthday party. Despite Boris's original assumption, yeah, I think he seemed to be having a pretty good time. I mean, obviously that has something to do with getting out of an internment camp very recently.
Yeah,
but
it's like
still,
an episode for family. It's like, do you want me to send you to Korea? You can go to the war, go fight in Korea or Vietnam or whatever.
Right.
It's like, well, you want to celebrate the birthday because you just got out of the camp. I mean, I'm sure water tastes better or colors are brighter now that they're out of the camp, let alone joint birthdays. Yeah, I know it's some time has passed since they escaped, but Kelly is pretty upbeat at that party for someone who like left such a
you're right. It's like you look at I mean, yeah, like you think someone would have like a lot of psychological trauma and stuff. Kelly is so ready to get drunk on the bridge, like.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, you'd probably need a drink after that.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps up the episode. So, Matthew for 8 million points.
Yeah. Sure.
How many dishes were in the total array allowing the people of Rigor 2 to contact the Orville?
Jeesh. I'm gonna say, what is 9?
It's 25 satellite dishes.
Oh, I was in the ballpark.
Yeah.
They actually used a tower from Japan as like one of the locations on the globe there.
Is that when they fly in and you see like all like the skyline and everything and like all these like the towers there?
Yeah, that, or when they're like looking on like the planet itself, I think it might show it there. It's called like Fukushima Tower or something like that. I'll get the actual name of it here in a second. But yeah, do you have another question?
You actually have already answered all my questions, so I'm either gonna have to start paying a little bit closer attention to the episodes and find some underlying trivial questions. But no, Matt, you've kind of like already got all my questions done. So
okay, the building was it's an exact replica of the landmark tower in Yokohama, Japan. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I've got a question for you actually, and it has nothing to do with the episode. It's something personal that I guess you're gonna have to try to figure out. I'll give you a hint as well. I've got a few Funko Pops. It is my addiction. I've got one Star Trek one. Have you any idea what it could be?
Ooh, can I ask any questions to maybe give me a teensy bit of insight?
I'll give you a hint if you want to hit. It's in the Kelvin timeline, which is the J.J. Abrams verse there.
Goodness gracious. Oh goodness. I'm gonna do.
And if you guys guess at home, you've won.
Yo, is it Scotty?
No.
Oh.
I'll give you another hint. It's a female character.
Ahura.
No.
Wait,
And she was. It's not. And another hint. She was in the third Star Trek movie. Was her introduction? The third Star Trek Beyond.
Oh my God! Wait, is it Michael? Is it
Michael
Spock's
Burnham?
sister? Yeah.
No. It is not. She was introduced in Star Trek Beyond.
I don't think I've seen Beyond. I didn't watch the Kelvin movie.
Well, there you go. That's why this is the shitty question. The answer is Jayla, who is a pretty fun character. I like her. She reminds me of Addie Maria.
Is she the green girl?
No, she's got like white skin and like black markings and stuff. She's really funny. She calls Scotty like Montgomery Scotty and stuff like that. It's good. She's actually pretty great. She's like my favorite part of the movie. I thought she was great. Great enough to buy a Funko Pop. Obviously, I didn't hate her if I bought the Funko Pop.
I guess not.
Yeah, that was a tough question for you, and it was a really stupid one to ask. I just thought, hey, you're doing trivia. I'll give you something that you're not.
No, I like that. That was good. I just gotta brush up on my Kelvin. I'm just gonna have to start. Okay, guys, my homework for the next week is gonna be watching all the Star Trek movies from the new J.J. Abrams verse.
Well, the first two are. Yeah, I like the first one. Second one is meh. Third one's enjoyable. I hope they do get a fourth. It's in flux right now. They're saying it's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, we can cross our fingers.
I'm going to binge Star Trek. You're going to binge Star Trek movies, and then we're going to meet in the middle at some point. But yeah.
Amen.
Hey guys, if you've got any questions, email us at USS Redenbacher if you want it read on the show. USSRedenbacher@gmail.com. You can write them also on our Facebook page, the Redenbacher, which is where we'll be posting most of all the links and stuff like that. And we're also on Spotify. So for your listening pleasure. Yeah, so far my marketing attempts have been in vain. I guess throwing a rock with a flash drive taped to it through people's windows hasn't really worked too well. I think my best guess is that the flash drive broke on impact, and that's why we haven't gotten 3,000 views in our first week. But I'll take another crack at it.
Expect some rocks, guys.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Twitch Delic for our new theme, which is pretty great. I look forward to more of his work in the future. He's going to help us with some more audio stuff that we do here. You can check him out on SoundCloud and on YouTube. There'll be links below as well. His name is Twitch Delic. He does some really cool stuff. I'd like to thank Jeff Hicks as well for letting me advertise on his Facebook page, World Class Bullshitters. I'm looking forward to his upcoming comic book that he's put on Indiegogo called Stealing Solo. Looks really sweet. It's about some guys that go see Force Awakens and are crushed, so they go and kidnap Harrison Ford to make their own movie. I think that's a cool concept, and yeah, I'm sure they'll be hearing from Harrison's lawyers. No, parody law is a great thing. So yeah, shout out to Jeff, and thanks for letting me advertise there. Anything else you want to say?
I mean, I guess like as always, I guess this would be a great opportunity just to thank everybody. I mean, yeah, like we love your support. We want to hear more comments from you guys. Yeah, we just, really want to grow as a community kind of together for a shared love of the Orville. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to hear from you soon. Matt?
Yes, we hope to hear from you. And signing off from the Kentucky Fried Quadrant, for Commander Ben Bullerell, this is your Captain Matt Murphy, signing off.